You know, it's just been announced that London's not a safe place to be in. And in fact, this particular individual, yes, this one, well, he doesn't feel safe at all. Oh, it's nothing to do with the rising crime rate or the knife attacks or the riots or indeed the endless marches. No, it's because it's him and it's the colour of his skin. Well, we've got news for you, Mr. Mayor. Let me explain exactly just how dangerous London is. As ever, let me explain. Morning, nice to see you. Thank you so much as ever for taking the time out for joining me. You know, when you think about it, there's lots of narcissists in this world, and one might suggest, of course, that the current Mayor of London, Sadiq Khan, is definitely one of those. Overlooked for a job in the recent government reshuffle, couldn't get in Downing Street, so obviously had to stick with being the worst mayor London's seen, possibly, well, since all time, according to polls at least. And what's fascinating about this is whenever he doesn't get the attention he needs, he comes up with a headline grabbing scheme. Now you might say, oh, it's terrible, you know, look at that, it's a terrible situation he's in if this is how he feels. Look at it from the other side. This particular poster was posted by his office because it didn't represent the London that he knew. That's right. Now, how inclusive is that? You understand how this sort of thing works. But it gets worse, you see, because we often see Sadiq doing this, right? Sitting on buses or being pictured on tubes and stuff like that. And you think, oh, how very noble. Maybe even on a bike. But you never actually see him on it. It's all posed for publicity. If you notice with the picture on the bus, there's simply no one else on the bus. So you know that that was a privately hired bus, or simply, you know, everybody's booted off while he does the picture. Now, what obviously is done is created a lot of headlines in a very dead month, some people might say. So I've put out a challenge to Sadiq Khan that we swap at least for 2 weeks, because you see what he's got against what the ordinary citizens of London don't have is this. He has 24-hour protection from the British Metropolitan Police. He has an army of 4x4 cars, which are all plated, totally safe, and travels around in that. His family also are afforded the same luxuries because apparently, according to him, he needs it because London's, well, not a safe place. But let's just remember, he's in charge of crime, he's in charge of the policing, and he's also in charge of the transport. So what does it say about him that he daren't wander around his own city, as it were, without feeling frightened? Well, think about this, being a citizen. You're standing on a tube platform, you hear somebody shouting around, and you realise you're standing very near a mentally ill patient that's just literally being let out onto the streets. Never Sadiq's fault though, but of course we've had a rise in those people that have been inadvertently pushed into the tube lines without any warning. The same thing happens on a bus. And then of course you may wander down Oxford Street and suddenly find yourself being, well, in the middle of a machete fight with all rival gangs, all rising under his mayoralship. You understand? So I go back to this. Why don't you have a sample of real London life? And perhaps, Mr. Khan, this might make you realise what it's like for the ordinary hard-working citizen, and there are many of us, whether they be the street cleaners of this wonderful capital city, the early risers going to hotels who have to travel on those very dangerous night buses. Why don't you take a little bit of time out from your very cosy, security-led world, swap with the real people, and then maybe you could do something about the realities rather than the narcissism and the notice me and the pity party that you're clearly looking for with this particular headline. Londoners see through you, and it's a miracle once again many people have admitted that you got back in power. Either way, this is truly doing you no favours, even with, some might suggest, your dedicated chums. Neil Sean in the very heart of London.